Guys, before we head off on this little journey in this stinking little Sweatbox, a lot of police activity obviously on this road. Welcome back to my office, episode 2, the Sweatbox. So today I'm going to take you on a little journey. It's not going to be maybe 15 or 20 minutes, maybe slightly longer depending on traffic. I'll take you from Bristol Crown Court, which is where I was convicted and sentenced. I'll take you the route that the Sweatbox would have taken up to HMP Bristol, otherwise known as Horfield. I'll talk you through that journey about what it's like, what goes through your mind when you're in that Sweatbox, when you're in the prison transport, how it feels, and when you finally see the prison gates looming up on you. So I'll take you through that. Let's see how it goes. Guys, before we head off on this little journey in this stinking little Sweatbox, I'm going to talk you through the initial process of what it's like when you get found guilty or when you get sentenced and you get taken down. So I'll keep it brief. So what will happen is the verdict will come through. You'll be stood in the gallery waiting behind your shield or your polycarbonate. It separates you from the public. It's not that secure. You can jump over it if you want to, but it'd be foolish to try. The minute you are found guilty, you are then convicted. You are convicted. That's it. You're in trouble. So what will happen is the judge will then say, take them down, as you all know, and behind you in this little gallery there's a doorway which goes down some stairs into the area where the holding cells are. Now these stairways are very thin, they're very narrow. If you've never been inside before, it's very, I won't say it's intimidating, but it's all new. You're thinking, what's next? What's around this corner? It's a little tiny spiral staircase going down. And you know where the cells will be. There'll be a little area you'll hand your bag in if you've been wise enough to pack your bags, as I have advised on TikToks, to get a bag ready with your stuff. You'll hand that bag into the courtroom staff, the security down there, and they'll escort you into a holding cell where you'll sit tight and you'll wait. Now when your prison transport eventually turns up, you'll be called out of that holding cell. Now they'll bring you in there. You'll be greeted by a member of GOAME, GFresh, Serco staff, whoever's running that bus at the time, and they'll slap the cuffs on you and they'll escort you out to the bus. They'll take you onto the Sweatbox, up some little stairs. Your kit will be processed onto that buses with you. Be put in a spare cell. These little little portaloos, if you like, but smaller. They'll escort you into this thing. They'll close the door behind you with the cuffs still on, so the door is like half cocked. They'll secure the door. They'll then take the cuffs off and then push the door shut and lock you in. So if I can describe what it's like inside. So you look inside, and a lot of you won't have seen inside these things. Some of you do. Leave a comment. You walk in. You've got a moulded plastic seat as part of the fixtures. It's thick. It's not soft. There's no cushion on it. It's a solid plastic seat. When you sit down on that, you can just about, if you're reasonably tall, you can look out your little portal. The door, little window in it, and I mean I'm 6 foot, and my knees just don't quite touch the front of the cubicle, so I could sit down. I don't touch. If you're like about 6'2" or 6'3", you're cramped. You've got to sit at an angle. There's not much room. You definitely ain't standing up in it. And above you, you've got your emergency exit. It's a little skylight, which should the vehicle have a problem, or should it go over, should there be any issues, that's your way out. That's technically your weak point of the vehicle. Although it's not, it could be considered as one. So you look on top of these things, they'll have a load of skylights up in there for people to get out in case the vehicle goes over. But do you really think that if one of those buses involved in an accident goes up in flames, that anyone's going to risk their lives to come in and rescue those prisoners? No, you're just going to fucking burn to death, aren't you? And that's just the way it is. It's just the way it's going to be. You're going to die. So, a lot of police activity obviously on this road going on. So you're in the Sweatbox and you're kind of just looking out the window. You're a little bit, shell-shocked at the whole experience. You're shell-shocked at what's going on. You're not quite sure what's around the corner. And you've got this little tiny window looking out the side of the van. So they're very dark. You can't see in through that window, but what you can see is you can see out perfectly. And I'll go into that shortly. So we'll come down. This is the city centre. You know, and do you know what? It was just like this weather. It was really hot. It was May the 17th, 2012 when I was found guilty, and it was just exactly like this. It was hot. It was sunny. People going about their daily business. It was just horrible. You know, you sat in a sweatbox. You've just been yanked out of the real world. You've just been plucked from the community. You're now a convict. You're now technically inside. You're in jail. Although you're in a sweatbox, you are now locked up. You ain't seeing freedom. Although you may or may not know how long you've got, you know, the fact is that you're going to prison. Next time you get off that bus, it's going to be inside a prison, and that's not nice. So what will happen is the bus will take this route without running over that old man. I should have ran him over really, but again, I don't want to go back in jail for that. So just in case anyone doesn't know, Bristol is straight in front of me in a big glass building. That's number 1 Bridewell Police Station. That is also the probation office. That's where I go to probation, or that's where I did go to probation prior to lockdown. Now you don't go in anymore. You just do phone calls, which is a lot easier. You know, it's a lot less hassle. Excuse me, I just got traffic everywhere, and I try not to swear because I do know that YouTube pulls it if I swear within the first 5 minutes. So I'll do my best. So you're sat in this sweatbox. So what will happen is, depending on the length of the journey, just a short trip from the course, they're not going to cater for you. But if you're gonna go on a longer journey, they'll provide you with refreshments. They're like an in-flight meal, if you like, but at the lower end of the standard. And this will come in a sandwich pack, like a sandwich bag. You'll be given a bottle of water, a little bottle of water, not very big. In that there will be a packet of crisps, cheap crisps. Nothing. You're not getting Walkers. There'll be nearly swore. There'll be a really poorly made sandwich. It's not great. It's very bland. It might be just basic cheese, basic ham. You know, they've got to consider your dietary requirements and any religious needs, things like that. So they keep it fairly simple and fairly basic. And there might be an apple which looks like it's been kicked around the floor for half an hour. You know, so that's your pack lunch if you're on the sweatbox. The other thing you got to think about when you're in there is if it's a long journey, is what if you need the toilet. They can't exactly stop off at the services and take a wee, can you? You know, so they have to consider your needs. So if you do need to have a wee, they will pass you what's known as I'm looking at traffic lights, so I do apologise, looking at my nose. Pass you what's known as a little gel bag. Not a gel as in jail, but a gel as in gelatin. What will happen is this bag is made of the same stuff that nappies are, and you will just whip your tackle out and have a go in that instead, and the gel pack soaks up all the fluid and it's scented, and then that's it, job done. You then got a nice little hand warmer should it be cold in there. So that's your toilet. So this is the route we're going to take from the court. So you're sat in your sweatbox. Imagine being sat in there. You've just been found guilty. You don't know how long you're going to go away for, and you're looking at your little window, all the people going by. At the same time, you in your head, you're kind of trying not to think about it, but you're thinking about, sorry, Rosa, you're thinking about your family. You're thinking about, you know, what are they thinking? What's going on? They're on their way home now. They're going home. You're thinking that their other half's just been banged up. They're worried about you. You're worried about them. So now we're coming on to Gloucester Road, and you're in your little sweatbox, and you might have other people in there with you. Not likely to be the only person in that sweatbox. You're going to have up to maybe 6 or 8 people in there, maybe less, but you're going to have a fair few. Some of these people will have been on a trial. They'll be up and down, so they'll be used to the journey. Some people will be like yourself, just found guilty. You know, so just adjust that slightly. So you can have a whole mix of people in there. Some of these people aren't going to really want to conform. They don't like the fault that they've been banged up, so they will be kicking off. They'll be kicking the doors, they'll be smashing the doors, they'll be shouting, they'll be banging on the windows. It creates for a very miserable atmosphere, because you're thinking, well, is this what it's going to be like inside? And then you've got people who are just screaming and shouting, threatening. You know, you can't really. You've got a little window yourself in your door, but it's very small. And the way the cells are designed, they're not dead opposite each other. So we look out, you kind of look across, and you can just sort of see in there. So if you kind of look back out of your window and look up, you can see someone look down at you, so you can just about see who's in these cells. What you don't want to be doing is antagonising people, because when you get off that bus, you're all going to be in the same holding cell together. You know, you're going to be in, you know, you're going to be sat in a holding cell for a duration of time, and it could be hours. You know, so what you're thinking is, what's this person like? You know, he's kicking off, he's giving it a load of, you know, Billy Big ones. He's really making a lot of noise. But the thing about being in prison is, the ones that are kicking off, making the noise, they're the least dangerous. They're the ones you haven't really got to worry about. They're the ones that can't do their bang up. They're called door kickers. You know, and that's the reality of it. Is they just make a lot of noise. You know, their bark is worse than their bite. You know. So the trip up Gloucester Road is only literally 5, maybe 10 minutes. It's not long, and you just try and get your head around the gravity of what it's like to not be a part of this anymore. You're looking around, people just on their phones, you know, just doing their thing. They're on the daily commute. They're going home to their tea, and they're going home to their loved ones, and you're going to prison. You're going to get locked up. You know, and if that's not enough to put anyone off of getting involved in crime, I don't know what is. You know, unless you ain't got any loved ones and you don't have any tea, I can understand how some people are more comfortable in prison because they have more in jail than they do on the outside, and I can understand that. I can't relate to it, but I can understand, and I do sympathise with people in that situation. I really do. You know, and I've seen people coming into jail, you know, more times than I can imagine when I was on my one sentence, and it happens a lot. So Cambridge Road is not far now. We're about less than 5 minutes away, I think. So as you creep up Gloucester Road, there's a point up here where there's a pub, and we literally take a left, and Horfield Prison, I'll say, is this ominous looking building. You wouldn't know it was there, you know. So you sat in your Sweatbox, and I knew the route. I knew that we were getting close to the jail, and I'm thinking, what's next? You know what? I've kind of taken each stage as it is. I've gone down from the back of the courtroom. I've handed me bag in. I've been stuck in a cell. I've been called out of the cell. I've had the cuffs slapped on me. I've been escorted down to this little bus that I'm sat in, the Sweatbox, and then now we're in the Sweatbox driving up this road here up to Horfield Prison, which is the next left. So you've got a pub on the left called the Golden Lion, you know, and a brand new building, and you wouldn't realise there's a prison here holding, you know, a Cat B local jail out of the way. It's just horrible, you know. And you kind of, if you're dealing with anxiety, which I was at the time because of what I've been through, your anxiety's through the roof, but you're also into some sort of survival mode where you're thinking, well, whatever's next is next. I can't control it. So you come down here, and then there's the prison in front. You see the clock tower in front. Through, and then the prison is just this big ugly building. If you look just on the right side, just beginning to appear. There we go, there's the door. In fact, someone's coming out the door now. That's quite handy. So that's Horfield Prison on the right hand side. You can just see the two chimneys in the distance. That's the top of A and G wing. There's the jail. I'm going to take you for a little drive around the outside so you can see what it's like. And there's your perimeter wall. And this is where you get a load of throwovers coming on, because the wall is so close to residential area that I'll go around the back. I'm not going to do a feature on the prison. I will show you around the outside though, just because I can. So by this time now, you're kind of in your Sweatbox, and you've got to go into the vehicle lock. So you go through these big brown doors, and what will happen is you'll go in, the door will close behind you, so you're in what's known as an airlock, but it's called a vehicle lock. And then a member of prison staff will come in. They'll be given some paperwork by the transportation and say who's on the bus. The prison staff will come in. They will look at you. They'll compare you to the photograph they've got of you from the police records to make sure that you are who you are. And once they've done that to every single person on the bus, they'll then process you and then go on into the jail. So you sat in a Sweatbox, and you hear this big mechanical door just close behind you, a big clunk, and you think, fucking hell, I'm inside now. And then you're waiting for the door on the other side to open up. So once that officer has checked everyone in, he does something, push a couple of buttons, and then the door opens up on the front, and then you just see the light come through, and you hear the door opening up, and then you think, right, and then you move on through a series of gates and fences, and that's it. You're into the prison. You know, so that's the told you a quick one. That's a trip in the Sweatbox. What it's like. It's not a very pleasant experience. It's fucking horrible. Don't do drugs. Stay out of jail.